right, commandos, listen up. This is an interesting topic that has some advanced physiology, but I'm gonna try and turn it into something that is much more palatable, pun intended. And that is talking about possibly an accidental or purposeful overfeed and waking up the next day being lighter and possibly even looking leaner. And I want to describe that process to you in a way that makes sense, and really how overeating can actually make you lose weight, but make you fatter. Sounds strange, right?
How is that possible?
It's not uncommon for people to be on strict numbers, boundaries, whatever, and then, okay, one day, like, they have a blowout. It happens everybody ends up having a blowout. And then they eat a whole pizza, wake up the next morning, and they are lighter and look better than they did before, and they think, holy cannoli, I'm just gonna eat a whole pizza every night.
I'm excited.
Me too.
And a week from now, I'm gonna look just amazing. And everybody knows in the back of their head that doesn't work, but in the short term, it is quite motivating to try and reinforce that sort of behavior. So I want to describe some of that physiology to you. And that is essentially because of a phenomenon that is called osmotic diuresis. Basically means when you have a serious overfeeding episode, that stuff that you eat gets in your blood. Believe it or not, like digestion, absorption, and all that stuff. All this stuff gets in your blood, and your brain and your kidneys know how much stuff is in your blood.
Yes, I'm aware.
Now, the exact particles in your blood in some cases don't matter as much. Sodium and carbohydrate, glucose are obviously two of the heaviest hitters, but the reality is that you have what are called osmolytes, which is just like, this is particles. It could be sodium, potassium, glucose, fat, protein, whatever. It's just stuff. When the amount of stuff in your blood reaches a critical concentration, your kidneys and your brain are like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
You need to chill out.
Your blood has too much stuff. And in an effort to try and make it so there is less stuff per unit volume, remember, because we're talking about physiology, and in physiology, concentration rules versus concrete numbers of particles, you can actually dilute your blood by pulling water in it, which means fluid from your muscles and your interstitium and your intercellular space, all these other places can go into your bloodstream, so that if you have 5 particles per ounce, right, then if you double your amount of blood, you now have 2.5 particles per ounce. So from a biological perspective, you have cut the amount of stuff in your blood in half by doubling the amount of blood you have. I hope that makes sense.
I'm trying to understand that.
And so that is how the body ends up trying to deal with concentration changes of stuff. And then what happens is your kidney goes, holy cow, blood pressure goes up, the kidney, glomeruli and all sorts of other fun body parts start to communicate with the brain and with each other and go, okay, the amount of stuff in the blood is now okay, but now I got too much damn blood, so now I gotta try and filter all that stuff and excrete it. And so this phenomenon does happen, regularly in uncontrolled diabetes, where essentially you have polyuria and polydipsia, which is essentially like your blood glucose goes whoosh, way high, and your kidney goes, holy, we got to get rid of some of the sugar, so you start peeing it out. And that's actually how diabetes was diagnosed many, many moons ago. So something similar like that happens where the kidney, the brain go, okay, there's way too much stuff in the blood. Let's make more blood, increase the volume and therefore decrease the amount of relative stuff. And the kidney goes, okay, now there's way too much volume. Let's start to move some of that volume out of the body. And so when you overfeed, specifically in salt and carbohydrate, you can mimic that process a little bit and force yourself to excrete a ton of sodium and water by overfeeding. And that's why you may look so much better the next day, because the overfeeding actually caused you to excrete a bunch of fluid by virtue of your body attempting to dilute all of the stuff you put in your blood all in one shot. And for many people, they end up rebounding a couple of days later because your kidney goes, holy crap, now there's not enough stuff and therefore I must retain sodium. And then you end up, bouncing back up, and then you equilibrate over time again. And this is partly why in that situation you can actually store fat but look leaner, because the amount of fat that you store is going to be less than the amount of subcutaneous water you may excrete, and therefore the visual difference may be more stunning in the short term, but in the long term, as you repeat this process, you just go from, oh, I'm just retaining water to I'm just retaining fat now, and actually have to go through another dieting phase. So I just wanted to explain that process, and hopefully that can explain some of the scale fluctuations with people that may overfeed sometimes and wake up lighter and look better, because it can reinforce that behavior, and it will just lead you right back to me again. So I hope that was fun. If you have any more questions, make sure to let me know. And I mean, you can experiment with this for yourself, but there's no guarantee it will work. So I just, would rather word to the wise, or whatever that saying is. Have a good day, guys.